Hey everybody, welcome back to the Four Hauntsmen. It's been 14 long months since the last time that we rode off into the sunset, but we are back. Halloween Horror Nights is back. Howl-O-Scream is back. Halloween is back.
We beat COVID.
Yes!
Florida never had COVID, apparently.
Florida was ground zero. Let's be real. So, this is Kyle. I'm back with Paul.
Hello.
Drew.
Present.
And Captain Tom.
AKA the ass of the Four Hauntsmen.
The bottom round.
I just bring up the rear.
So it has been 14 months. We are doing this live. We don't have a script today, so this could be trouble.
And whose fault is that?
This is only our second time starting this podcast.
Yeah, this is all mine.
This is our fourth take.
The last podcast that I was a part of was actually like an Orlando magic podcast, and it was so professionally done and slick and strict agenda, and everybody knew what they were going to say. And like this is the opposite.
Here's just a bunch of four jackasses, just
jackasses.
I'm drinking a ton of rum, so I'm happy.
Good for you. Packing your swimmies.
Yes, sir.
So we could use the usual phrase of "let's get into it," right? Like, Halloween Horror Nights is back, so we knew that it was coming back this year. It didn't come back. It wasn't. Halloween Horror Nights kind of, sort of, did a little thing in 2020. 75% of us went to it. It was fun. It was
I had a blast.
fun. They had 3 of the houses that will be back again this year. It felt great to get out and have part of a haunted event, but it was really kind of like an appetizer for what this year is going to be all about, right?
The main course.
I thought it was a great time.
Considering that we felt Horror Nights was dead in the water and there was going to be no real like major theme park haunts, and like I just remember we did the Bride of Frankenstein house first, and when we first walked in and just smelt that Horror Nights smell, it was like yes it's happening, and it was a good time. Am I a little selfishly disappointed that it sounds like they're coming back this year? Yeah, just because we've done them already, but
we didn't do the full
nothing
effect though either.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm the only one who didn't experience.
A moderate version of them, right? So, I mean, especially Beetlejuice. So, Beetlejuice was a special attraction at the end of the event last year, and it was very much just a partial showing of what the house, what the capability is for what they're going to do with that house.
But it was damn good from what we did see.
I guess that's why they called it HHN Light or Diet HHN. What was it officially? Diet HHN or HHN Light?
It was officially unofficial Diet HHN.
There we go.
Yeah, officially it was like the Halloween.
Halloween test experiment.
It was actually HHN 30%.
I like that.
Look at you. Now we have a name for this episode all of a sudden.
Copyright trademark.
Yeah, it's ours. Don't take it. Yeah, I wasn't able to go last year, for obvious reasons.
Right.
Tom, did you get to experience Beetlejuice last year, or just the other 2?
I did not go back down. I was only there for the 2.
And I told Tom to come back down, and he was like, I don't want to come back down. And then we don't get in, and I said, bro, there ain't no way we're not getting in.
My worry was if you guys remember right, last year, or when they did the houses, you had to get on the app and get a reservation and blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So I was worried about getting down there and then not being able to get in the reservation. He's like, screw it, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. And I should have just went. And
we did it. We did it twice. We could have done it more than that if we were jerks and took all the times, but we did not.
Right.
I saw a lot of other people that did, though.
But not us. Hey. I think twice is fair. Okay.
Yeah.
I went once. But we got a lot of merchandise last year also that, it kind of, the cards were on the table from Universal as to, a good chunk of the surprise that ended up getting announced today about what was going to happen, right? Like, icons are back.
Yep.
Jack is back.
That's awesome.
Jack's back again and again. and again.
And better than ever. No Eric Bischoff. He's got a knack for making Halloween Horror Nights better.
So I'm fired up. I can't wait, man. It's going to be so cool. I mean, so my very first Halloween Horror Nights was 25. Okay. So, I mean, that was my first exposure was Jack. Yep. The very first house I ever did was Jack Presents the Monsters of Mayhem or whatever it was. I mean, this is like, I'm so fired up about the announcement today. It's great.
It's super cool. So today, as we recorded this, and I'm sure 53,000 other podcasts are recording at the same time and blogs and all of that good stuff. Jack is back. He is the center of attention for Halloween Horror Nights. We knew Jack was back 2 days ago because of a blunder. This is kind of like the Spinal Tap of Halloween Horror Nights events so far, where a video was leaked a couple of days ago by a travel agency, I believe overseas, and that video made its official debut today. But for the last day or 2 days, people were watching a video stream of static.
That's
right.
Just crazy. Right?
It is insane. Well, I mean, we should just do the entire podcast like the
what are they saying?
Yeah, you guys got to
decode it. You got to decode the message.
I mean, I think we all love Halloween Horror Nights more than the average consumer, right?
Yeah.
But I would kick my own ass for just sitting there and watching static for hours and hours and hours. I think that's one of the Universal gets some things very right in terms of marketing the event, but I think when they're I think they're so out of touch when it comes to the diehard fans and what they want. It's just weird because everyone knew what the static was going to show. It was going to show the video that everyone saw 2 days ago, but the fact that everyone was still losing their mind looking into things is just crazy to me, know? And
Kyle and I actually talked about this.
People made all the counts, right? In the chat box for the live feed, there was a storyteller and a caretaker. People were interacting as if they represented Universal. It was everything that you think could horribly go wrong for their social purposes was going wrong.
They got to turn on super chats next.
Yeah. Well, what I like is the guy who was guarantee my uncle works there and there's going to be a Ma house this year. It's going to be some Ma's basement. And he just kept repeating it. Kyle and I talked a little bit about this off the mics. I actually love like that. Excuse me. Well, I'm editing this, so I guess I'll beat myself out.
You can leave it in. Doing it live.
Doing it live. But I like it if it had been once and at the end of it led to something, or if the code had actually translated to something that was worth anything, then I think I'd be fine. But they did that static thing 4 or 5 times, and in the end, there was a separate link to the actual video that was a standard YouTube premiere anyway, right? So it's not like any of those things actually translated into anything. I don't think any of those ciphers were actually anything either. So, I enjoy a scavenger hunt. I enjoy, some background and some story and fun stuff like that to figure out if there's something to actually figure out and if there's a payoff. And I just don't think there was for this specific marketing decision.
I don't know if Paul or Tom will get this. I know Kyle will, but it so reminds me of back in the day when Chris Jericho was debuting in WWE, or when he was returning and they were putting all these and then especially his second return when it was all these glitchy staticky messages with typing in them, and it eventually revealed that he was coming back, but everybody knew it was him.
Right.
Everyone knew that it was him. But then everyone was still dissecting every little inch of it. And then when he comes back, it's yeah, that's cool. And then it's all right, well, what's next? That's
right
what we're at.
And ultimately everybody's all right, so can I buy tickets now? We already know it's going to be the icons. We know it's going to be Jack. We've seen this commercial 2 days ago, and you had enough time to even update the site, but I'm sitting here looking at the Halloween Horror Nights site, and the announcement for Jack says it's 2020.
I know. I noticed that today too.
So you had a year to update this thing or proofread it.
To just hit the delete button and then just hit 1, and you couldn't do it.
So allow me to give you a different take on it, if I may.
You may.
So you guys know my brother, He came down with me for HHN 29. Okay, loved it. Had a great time and everything like that. And we've talked here and there about it and everything. Not really in depth, but after the announcement today of the Jack video and they released it and everything like that, he sent me a text like he's dropping a bomb on me, like, "Hey, Jack's back! It's amazing. Who's Jack?" And I mean, going. So here's a guy who's a fan, but he's not a super fan or like a big nerd trying to dissect all that stuff. That's who that stuff's for, because then I'm like, yeah, dude, this and that, blah, blah, blah. So he is going to take his son, who's 13. He's taking his son down there for his birthday to go and see Jack and go see Beetlejuice, because that's all he knows about. So, I mean,
that's cool.
We look at it that way because we're so involved and so deep in it and everything like that. But there's guys like my brother that are kind of like, oh my God, did you just see this? This is amazing. Who is this guy? So, I mean, that's just another way to look at it. No, he doesn't know who Jack is. He went in HHN 29, was his first year. He has no idea.
Yeah, so he don't know Jack?
He don't know Jack.
He just knows that he makes tacos.
Dude, I so want a shirt with the Jack in the Box Jack in it for
oh, the tacos.
Hell yeah, Jack, with the Jack in the Box guy.
You got a spreadshirt thing. Just make one. Jesus.
Trademark, copyright, not us, but we're going to make it anyway.
That's the shirt.
Yeah.
All that being said, yeah, it's all a bunch of nerd shit. But anyway, I think it serves the purpose of what they're trying to accomplish.
Tom makes a good point, right? Like, because I feel like when I talk to people outside of us super geeks about Halloween Horror Nights, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of us super geeks on here, or at least on my social media feed, everyone feels like they are. I think people are what people tend to gravitate to when it comes to Halloween Horror Nights, at least the people I talk to, are the IPs. Like, oh yes, it's a house based on Walking Dead, it's a house based on Beetlejuice, and evil clowns. Like, that's an easy entry point. Like Caretaker, I don't feel like the layman would care if Caretaker returned, or the Terra Queen. Like, I guarantee the layman wouldn't, and I shouldn't say layman, but the newer fan, or the person who's not like ingrained in all the the hype or the history would care less about that kind of stuff.
Well, the good news is all of that shit's coming back.
Fair,
right? Like, it's this kitchen sink event, which is awesome, because that's kind of like what 25 was, and I think it's perfect for this year.
Yeah, like anniversary years are meant to celebrate your history, but also kind of look towards your future a little bit too. Yep. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I
gotta tell you, I'm more psyched about the stuff in today's announcement. I know we're like, this is what happens when we don't have an outline. I am psyched about the stuff coming to Cabana Bay, even more so than I am about the rest of today's announcement. That was my favorite part of the announcement.
And I feel like I read somewhere too that there's going to be things offered at like all the hotels, but I don't know if maybe I just.
I think that's what they've done before too, though, right? Like, I mean, we've gone to Swizzle Bar, which is where they're going to have like the icon drinks, but they've had themed beverages there before as well, and then they've had like snacks.
Oh yeah,
like the cupcakes,
room
and stuff.
service and stuff like that. Yeah. But I'm imagining that this Jack thing they're talking about is going to be where that Stranger Things, photo op thing was.
Which is a great idea. I mean, it's a great idea. It's a good space.
It's a big space that doesn't get used, so
it was a fun thing.
Yep. It's easy, pleasing crowds, giving people stuff to do at the resort, and give people reasons to come to the resort. And now you're also probably going to spend money at that bar, so.
So for those that don't know what we're talking about, explain.
What the
sure.
Explain what.
So Pulse wanted to go into the piece of, not only the bar, but the more the interactive exhibit.
Yeah, so it sounds almost like it's going to be kind of like, I don't want to say a museum, but I'm almost imagining like another tribute store in the way that it's going to be presented, where it's just going to be kind of like an interactive walkthrough type exhibit. I don't know. Is it all the icons? The icons are at the bar.
Yeah, the icons at the bar. This seems like it's Jack and stuff inspired by Jack.
Yeah, and that. So
which is 6 years worth of Halloween Horror Nights that he's been the icon. So, I mean, you've got enough that you can put in a little museum.
It's going to be at Cabana Bay for hotel guests, and it does say that it's for all Universal Orlando hotel guests. So,
Yes,
no matter where you're staying, as long as you're staying on property, you're good to go.
Across the street.
But it's similar to 2019. They had the Stranger Things like photo ops exhibits. I imagine it's going to be in the same location, right next to the bowling alley on, what is that, the second floor, I think it is.
Yep. Right. Yep.
It's a prime space. They usually use it, I think, for like just parties and stuff like that. But this seems to be when they did the Stranger Things exhibit, I remember like sometimes the line was crazy. Like we never got to do it because the line was just too long, and I was like, it's not worth it. But this sounds something more than I'd be down to do.
We were downstairs eating.
Yeah.
I was down with Carter, and Carter's like, damn, Tom, let's go up there and try to get in that Stranger Things exhibit. And so we went up there, and we were like the third person in line. Walked right in.
I'll never forget the picture of you guys in Scoops Ahoy.
Right.
And Carter's caption was, "Does anybody want some ice cream?"
It was really fun. I like that. It's going to be cool, though, with all the Jack stuff. I mean, I can't. All this stuff is great. I hope they have something similar like at Sapphire, but, whatever. I mean, I'll go over to Cabana Bay and sit there and wait for it.
I'm sure the other offerings at all the other resorts is mostly going to be food and drinks.
Food and drinks.
Oh, I'm good with that too.
Yeah, but that museum, or in my head, I'm imagining something probably grander than it is. But the Stranger Things thing was pretty elaborate.
Yeah,
and I know I've brought this up on this podcast before, but one of my favorite Halloween Horror Nights experiences was when I went to the Unmasking the Horror for Halloween Horror Nights 17. Jack was the icon, right? It was the Carnival of Carnage year. And they had, like, to start the exhibit, you met in, like, a Halloween Horror Nights museum. And they had a whole bunch of props and concept art and costumes. Like, you could try on Freddy's glove and stuff like that. And, I think having some type of exhibit of the whatever they still have, those Halloween Horror Nights things, would be great. I mean, I think that would be a really cool exhibit. Probably bigger than the space there, than what they're imagining there. But in my head, it's going to be very cool.
Bring on all the stuff.
All of it.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I do have to wait until they have multi-date tickets. But
which they are coming.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I mean, I did notice on the website it says, limited tickets are available now. Check back later for more options. So it does. Fingers crossed.
I just don't know. I'm trying to remember. I feel like in the past they've also done this where they've sold single night tickets first.
Yes.
But it's usually a lot further
earlier.
Yeah, so it's usually like March or April or something like that.
Correct.
So I think obviously they were waiting for the kind of the smoke to clear a little bit in terms of COVID situations, park capacity restrictions, things like that. Getting the coaster open. Now that that's done, I think they're kind of easing into it, but it's going to be. I would imagine that this time next month, if you've wanted a frequent fear pass, like you're able to purchase one by now.
I think you're absolutely correct.
I hope you guys are right? Because
makes no sense not to offer that.
I would
today's events will prove why, because they put that announcement video out today. What was it? 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And they put out that merchandise at the Bourne store today. Those T-shirts. I think I got there at 4 o'clock today, and all sizes were gone except small and extra small. And those shirts, they were a run of about 600, and once they're gone, they're gone. So on a slow Thursday, in terms of nothing too special going on, they made over $13,000 in T-shirts. So I mean, they're definitely going to offer those frequent tickets and get those fans in who spend that money to do that stuff, because not every Wednesday night is going to be wall-to-wall crowded without those people in there.
And I'm betting you money right now that we see those shirts come back too soon.
I don't know. I know that, like when they announced Beetlejuice, they brought the Beetlejuice stuff out. I'm almost wondering if that's going to be a trend now as well, that when they make an announcement that they'll put limited edition merchandise out for those days, because we've had 2 announcements and 2 limited run merch drops as well.
The only reason I'm saying that, Drew, is because if you remember, they did that limited edition poster. And that poster was gone within minutes. And then there was same thing.
That Jack one last year that they kept finding more of, and then eventually it was like $5.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Exactly. And then all of a sudden,
Chris has literally the display model with the wrapper on it, with the price on it, and everything.
I mean, they were by the end of the event, they were like giving them away.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They were 2 for $1. So I mean, I think that we're gonna see those shirts.
I mean,
back.
you could be very right. I'm just saying, like, I've never seen them sell merchandise for Halloween Horror Nights, in June, and like Beetlejuice was probably like March or April. Like, it was a while ago.
Yeah.
So it's a unique take, and it's almost like a Disney type move, to just release that stuff, make it super limited, and then just goes away. So,
yeah.
By the way, if anybody has an extra XXX or a single X on that Beetlejuice sublimated shirt, please hook me up. I will pay. I'm not looking for it for free. I want one because I have like some other stuff to go with that.
I bought actually 2 of the smalls that I'm having them delivered. And I'm gonna wear one on each leg.
Well, I think one of the things I'm gonna keep this limited merchandise. One of the things I'm gonna keep an eye out for. I don't know. Maybe I'll have better luck this year than I did last year. Is they did say that Midnight Syndicate, they would be doing another vinyl pressing this year.
Oh yeah, the vinyl.
Because that was a kind of a crap show last year too.
Luckily, we were able to get one, but like it was wild because we saw that it was out. We basically, I wouldn't say ran to the park, but we were like, let's go, and we got it. We got 2. We got one for us. We got one for a friend. And as we were there, like there was people checking out with like 20 of them. It's just what people do. People suck. It's one thing if you're, of course, getting stuff and you're like, I hit you guys up today. Like, hey, if they have the shirt, do you want it? Like that's
right.
It is what it is. Like, but there's certain people and people who are in the community that we saw there that were purchasing significant stacks. So.
I say we just take them out back and kick the out of them.
I mean, I'm down, man.
You?
So let's get beyond Jack.
All right.
And let's talk about some of the other stuff that we know, and then we'll get to the unknown, or supposedly unknown, right? So we have Beetlejuice coming back.
Hell yeah.
You have Bride of Frankenstein Lives coming back.
Puppets.
And the Tooth Fairy coming back.
Meh.
Well, you know what's interesting about
they released the puppets too.
Yeah, the puppet theater, right?
Well, that was kind of, sort of.
But yeah, that's so.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets forgotten about because it doesn't really get spoken of very much.
Yeah. Well, it probably gets forgotten about because on the another reason I should say it gets forgotten about is the website is only showing Beetlejuice, even though there are technically 4 or 5 confirmed houses.
Right.
I guess there's 4 because they said Jack would be in the houses, but I don't know that
he's literally everywhere. Paul, I'm gonna go back to Jack. Jack's in the house. He's on the street.
He's gonna
go take a store. He's in the shitter.
He's stall next to me.
Yeah. He's coming at all angles. He's gonna be sleeping. He's gonna pop from under the bed.
Dumpster Jack.
I'm gonna go hang out with Jack at the rum bar at Sapphire Falls.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Strong water Jacks.
He might be able to call up James and see what happens. You never know.
Exactly.
So yeah, the only Beetlejuice is on the site though, even though supposedly Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Tooth Fairy, and Puppet Theater are officially announced.
And I think too, like there's HHN Rumors or Nightmares, they put out their speculation map, right. And I mean it's usually pretty correct, and for the past 2 years we've had properties on there like Haunting of Hill House, which I assume that we're gonna get that announcement sooner rather than later. I think they're just kind of waiting to make sure that Hollywood is good to go for this year as well, but now with California basically saying they beat COVID as well, I'm sure that's going to be the next announcement down the pipeline because that's going to be like one of the big anchor properties of this year. But it's weird. The one thing, it doesn't seem like we're getting a whole lot of properties this year.
What was the other one? Oh, Texas Chainsaw. Yeah.
So I think they're basically the reason why the Jack announcement is more or less such a big deal as well is because instead of relying on those outside movies and stuff like that, they're basically relying on Jack to be the draw for the most part.
I mean, Beetlejuice is a pretty big draw.
It definitely is. But to me, Beetlejuice is also part of Universal's history.
Yeah.
You know, so it's Beetlejuice and Universal go hand in hand, even though Beetlejuice is not a Universal movie. It's just, you know, that's just kind of the way that I look at that. But so I would imagine Hill House is going to be our next big announcement that we get. And I got to say, my hype for that one is not very high.
Yeah, I've watched a few of those.
Puts you to sleep.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it can't be a good house, though.
Too, because every time I say something sucks, everyone's like, "You don't know what you're talking about, man." But like, I likes what I likes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you've probably followed like the speculation maps and the rumors and all that kind of stuff that's going on. The one that really interests me is the Shrek theater, because no one seems to know what the hell is going on in there.
You mean whether it's Creep Show or Halloween 3?
Yeah, or is it neither? Because I've heard a whole bunch of different stuff going on in there. So,
Jack.
I've
heard one thing more than another, though.
I feel like it was early on. It was Creep Show was locked in, and then all of a sudden people are talking Halloween, and Halloween's going to be at Universal Studios in Hollywood, and it's very rare that a property makes its way to one park but not the other. But at the same time, Hollywood is kind of known. If it has happened, it usually happens at Hollywood, especially with like the lesser known properties like that. Not to say Halloween is lesser known, but Halloween 3 is held in lesser of a regard than the others.
I was going to say something similar to that, Drew. It's interesting because I know Tom is the same age as me, right? Like when Halloween 3 came out, universally panned. Nobody wanted to see Halloween 3, and I think it's grown on people over time because
it's a cult following for sure.
It's a cult campy movie, but they had some of Halloween 3 in the Halloween. Was it Halloween 1 house or Halloween 2 house? Right.
The trick or treaters were in the first one.
So, I mean, what more do you have other than you're gonna play the commercial like in every room?
Yes. It'd just be the most annoying soundtrack ever.
It's just the pumpkin everywhere.
To go on what you said though, I agree that it's definitely a cult movie. I like the movie. I actually, my take is this: if that 3 wasn't attached to the name, it would be received much better than it was at the time too, probably.
If it was just called like Season of the Witch.
But like Halloween, like almost like a spin-off, Season of the Witch. Like that 3 makes you, when you think Halloween 1, you think Halloween 2. What do you think of? You think Michael Myers. That's just instant.
It's going to be a continuation of his story.
So when you get Halloween 3 and Mike's not there, you're like, oh. And then he comes back for 4. So it's just like, it's silly. It's like the Tokyo Drift of the Halloween movies, where it's just there, but it doesn't make any sense.
Well, that means that means all the Halloweens that we've seen since have taken place before Halloween 3, and we're just building back up to it.
Halloween takes place between Halloween 6 and Halloween Resurrection.
It all makes sense now. Just gotta look at it that way.
It's all just tied together. You're welcome.
And Han's back.
No one's ever dead.
One that I think is probably of most interest to me, right? Because at least and shout out to the HH Nightmares guys, or HHN Nightmares, HH Nightmares, I think, on the Twitter feed, right? Like the HHN icons captured with the font, including Fear's Lantern.
Yeah.
Yep.
That looks effing amazing, dude.
Yep.
That has to be like the most hype for the year so far for me.
I can't see a scenario where, I mean, I don't want to speak for you guys, but I have a feeling that if you asked all 4 of us what house are you looking forward to the most, I'm pretty sure that like we're all gonna say that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, without a doubt, right? Because I feel like I'm in the minority when I say I loved Fear as an icon.
I did too.
And that was the whole point of Fear, was that he was like the puppet master behind it all, and he captured them in his lantern and all that. So I think it's an awesome idea. I hope that is true.
My next one after that would be the puppets, man. I'm fired up about the puppets.
I really hope that it's like Muppets.
No.
This house isn't half bad. Yeah, it's all bad.
Scary Muppets.
Oh my god.
I'm picturing like
The Count.
kind of like a spiritual successor to something like Dollhouse of the Damned. But like, like puppets. That's kind of where my head's at on that house.
It looks pretty good based on the thing they showed on Peacock last year.
It did look pretty good. I tried not to look too much into it because that's my problem. As someone who was able to go to Diet HHN Light last year, you've already seen in some semblance 3 of the 10 houses being offered. So it's like you really don't want to watch too much more of what else it's going to be because then you got no surprises left, So
HHN
I get that.
5% trademark.
I'm really curious to see how scare zones work this year from a couple of standpoints. A couple of months ago with the restrictions, I would have said like I would imagine they're all going to be similar to like the one in Hollywood every year with the stages. But I don't think I've really seen anyone mention this yet, is that usually the scare zones in Hollywood, New York, and between Shrek and Minions are kind of like cut and paste in how they're laid out because of the parade that happens during the daytime. The parade is still not back. So I think this year, all the houses were built a year ago. Universal is running full capacity. They're making a good amount of money once again. Might we see like scare zones become much more of a thing than we have the past couple of years because of that?
Which is my favorite thing about Halloween Horror Nights.
There's
nothing better than grabbing a beverage and watching the scare zones.
If the parade is not back by now, I feel like you're at the point where you might as well just wait until after Horror Nights. That way you're not kind of hindering the event, and you can maybe use some of that money in this year's budget that you're not really using as much on, and kind of expand on those offerings. And therefore, too, it might make it a little bit easier crowd control wise to spread people out a little bit more. Because people will actually want to see those scare zones rather than just kind of walk through them.
The things you say, Drew, make sense.
I am curious about, and I don't know if it's like just code for now, that Seek and Destroy, like what is that all about? Right? Because the first thing, that's the first thing that jumps out at me. I mean, they used Orion a couple of years ago, and all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit, like, could you imagine? Like, I'm going to be living at Halloween Horror Nights every single day.
But only if they have frequent passes.
It's going to be like Chris looking for a bathroom.
Because so on the latest speculation map, right, you've got the 30th anniversary zone, Seek and Destroy, the Eddie zone, Terra Quintus,
Murphy zone.
Eddie Murphy. But Shudder, is that like what is it supposed to be like?
It's
it's obviously like stuff from Shudder Network, right? Like,
is it just Joe Bob Briggs out there?
Maybe with Joe Bob Briggs,
Darcy the Mail Girl.
See, now that would make sense if the Creep Show house is there, given the Creep Show series.
Yep.
Everything would kind of tie in a little nicely. You've also got other Shudder like when I saw that and I thought Shudder, the only thing that comes to mind for me is Creep Show.
Mm-hmm.
There was that movie, I think it was just called The Host, right? The one that took place on Zoom that everyone was losing their mind about. And then there's that new one, Psycho Gorman. Those are like
Psycho Gorman
things that pop up to head that but like The Host wouldn't work in a scare zone or anything like that. I'm surprised that I feel like that could have been a really good idea for a house, like a Blum house, but Shudder presents, like
it could just be like campy type, stereotypical Joe Bob type B movie scares.
If they have a Joe Bob scare zone, I will lose my mind. That'll be where I hang out. Because I freaking love Joe Bob.
I think we're going down a rabbit hole. I think that, honestly,
there could be rabbits in there.
Too far-fetched. I think that Creep Show is the one thing that makes sense because people actually know what the hell it is.
Yeah. Well, I think the Shudder scare zone may actually probably be like I'm Cold. or something.
That would be stupid.
All I'm gonna say is that the scare zones are usually the one that there's the most turnover.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it just comes down to what characters or what people they cast, how the characters are going to work, and then taking it from there. So the scare zones I don't really look too much into until they get announced. Yeah. But I think the houses, the lineup that we're looking at, for the most part, is definitely correct.
It's a strong lineup, too, this year. I mean, it really is. I mean, there have been some years where I'm like, I'm going because it's Halloween Horror Nights, and I always have a good time.
Yeah.
But this year,
like 2017.
Yeah. But I had a good time.
A couple of interesting names here, too, for people from Northeast accents, right? Because you could have the Shudder Zone.
Shudder.
Shudder. And then the Wicked Growth. It's Wicked.
Wicked.
Wicked Growth. And there's the
boy.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Massacre. I mean, the scary, the Welcome to Scary, the HHN icons, like all the original stuff, especially because I haven't seen 3 of the 10 houses already. I'm excited about. I think the only thing I'm not excited about is Texas Chainsaw again, because I've seen it 4 times now, I think, at this point.
I'm kind of interested to see how that one's going to turn out from what I've heard about it.
So we haven't seen it since 25, right?
26.
26.
Yes.
Right.
And this is going to be, from what I've heard, it's going to be unlike any Texas Chainsaw Massacre house that they've had.
Bring it on.
Well, there is a new movie coming out, isn't there?
There is, but it's not based on that.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Haunting of Hill House. There's some decent ghosts, I guess, that could come out of it.
Oh, sorry.
It got better towards the second half. I will give it that, because I was like, I got halfway through and I'm like, oof, okay, why am I still watching this? But then Mary told me to keep watching it on Facebook. So
was there one before Hill House?
Hill House is the first one. The new one was called like Bly Manor.
Okay, Bly Manor, bad. Hill House, I kind of got into. So, Paul, if that's where you were going with that, I kind of agree with you.
Yeah.
It started off, I was kind of like, oh, God. But then it started getting kind of cool, and I could actually see, like, okay, this would be cool in a house. This would be cool in a house. And you start noticing that, yeah, it did definitely work. I'm not thrilled about it coming. That's probably, like, least on my hype list, but I think it'd be decent still.
I think it's just going to eat up a lot of crowds, too, because people love that show.
And Bly Manor would eat a big thing. No, I would not be if it was Bly Manor, I'd be like,
eat a Wicked Growth.
It would eat a big thing.
See, well, I caught myself, Paul.
We caught it. It's okay.
Doing it live.
Sorry.
So, welcome to Scary Horror in the Heartland. I mean, not to say this like I still live in Flushing. What do you guys think about that?
I'm down, bro.
Yeah, super excited. We talked about it earlier. I'm all about that background story, Halloween Horror Nights history stuff, and so the town of Cary, sign me up for that. Hopefully they do something imaginative with it, but I'm totally on board.
Yeah, and like most of the original houses are usually like our favorites, right? Yeah. And like all the originals are almost all the originals nowadays are tied into Cary one way or another. So it's basically going to be your best of house of different originals from the past, 10 years or so. So there's a lot of potential there for some good shit.
Jack will be there because Jack will be everywhere.
Jack is everywhere. Jack will be the guy like checking your express pass in the line over there, and
so Jack just sold me a beer. Is Jack in the Eddie zone too?
I mean, they're bros.
It is kind of funny that they would have an Eddie zone separate from the Icon zone again. He's always getting the short end of the stick.
One of the things that someone was talking about today in regards to some of those photos that came out is one of the photos of Jack. If you really look at it, it's like from the point of view of someone who's inside of like a cell, right? And like they're like, is that supposed to be like your point of view, or is that supposed to be like? I mean, when people really look into stuff, they're like, he has a look on his face, not of like like he's trying to scare you, but like as if he knows you, and right? And people are like, "Is it Eddie? Is Eddie finally coming?" And
we hear that
sure,
every year.
Finally coming from the wicked growth.
I'm pretty sure. There's a wicked growth in my pants.
There's your title.
That is not the title.
And there's going to be Beetlejuice everywhere.
I have a question for you long-termers, okay? So, Eddie, has he ever been a thing? I know that he got canceled one year.
Yeah, he got.
I mean, but has he ever? My question is, has he ever been a thing? God damn it, man! Has he ever had a house? Has he ever
been
really
featured
been
in
part
some
of
scare zones? And
they added him to the Icon Zone late last time. Remember, like he wasn't there. I think the opening weekend.
He was in the Icon Zone the year that Fear was in charge during 20.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying like 25.
It
seemed like he was like an afterthought.
He's had little appearances here and there, but he's never been used to the degree that he was planned to be.
Yeah, at this point, that's my least hyped zone. I mean, I could care less.
I took an awesome picture of that character, like Eddie looking up Jack on the stage show in 25 at some point. I'll have to dig that out. That's cool. I don't understand like the whole zone thing. I'm really interested in the zones, so we'll see. I'm interested in the whole thing. I'm hyped up now. I've had a cup of coffee.
Coffee beer.
Yeah. Well, coffee, beer. Thing. But we've got more Jack, right? So there's supposedly a Jack show coming too. So Jack everything.
So where's that Jack show supposed to be? Jack stage show. I'm looking at the map.
At Fear Factor.
Okay. I don't know how.
I mean,
I'm not so excited about it. I mean, I would rather see Bill and Ted come back. To be quite honest.
Nah.
I mean, I would rather see Bill and Ted come back, but
we already disagreed. So
here it depends. It depends on what we're gonna get from Jack. Are we gonna get another Carnage Return type show? Are we gonna get a dance show with Jack being involved in it one way or another? Or are we gonna get a water show with Jack in it? Like, what are we getting? Do you know what I mean? Like
Jack on a jet ski.
That would be awesome.
I don't. Carnival of Carnage was kind of a dancey show with some magic stuff and everything like that. I'm sure it's going to probably be all of the above. I would assume. I mean, I don't think that. I mean, what else could they do? It's not going to be Jack up there telling jokes for 13. Although I'd be happy with that too. I think whatever. just give me somewhere to sit down, drink a beer, and watch. Keaton do his thing. I'm happy.
What if it's not him?
Well, then I'm not going.
Cancel your hotel. Cancel your flights.
I'm out.
So,
I'd like to see more Carnage, like a continuation of the show that we had at 25.
It was good. That was a really good show.
I could tell you based off of feedback from the videos that we shot that year, there is an unbelievable amount of people that not only attend Horror Nights, but watch this stuff that actually believe it's real. So it's stunning.
That man.
Did he actually kill that man?
Yeah, they killed him.
Oh my God, it's real.
They blended him up.
They threw him in the ninja and drank him.
Oh my God, they're attacking him. It's real.
So, I am looking forward to that show. Like I said, I would have loved to see Bill and Ted come back there and maybe put Jack somewhere else. You could even put him, I guess, maybe towards like the animal stuff, like the animal actor type stuff. But like, I'm happy with him coming back.
Paul said no. Paul said no.
Yeah, I already said no to Bill and Ted.
Well,
stop trying to make fetch happen.
We'll get into Howl-O-Scream in a little bit, but they're going to have a dance show and another type of show over at Howl-O-Scream also.
Let's just do it now. You just brought it up. Let's go.
But we got one last thing. So you got the water show at the actual HHN 30%.
So you got notes. We don't get notes.
No, I don't have notes. I see it on the speculation map.
Oh.
And I know some people that live by there that have said that they've heard it in rehearsal.
So yeah, there's a couple. I'm here. I only got to see the water show that one year, just one time, and it was like the last half of it because we were always running and doing stuff that was incredible. That was a really cool thing. So I'm excited. Whatever they do with the water, they could redo. Well, I guess they really can't do the same one, but same type of thing. Just like with the houses, or just like little blurbs of Texas Chainsaw and Hill House or whatever it might be. And I thought that was really, really cool.
I completely agree with you, Tom. However, I think that it was amazing. I love that show. That's probably one of my favorite like theme park like night shows or whatever that I've ever seen. But I just fear that it was like lightning in a bottle, in the sense of it was the perfect storm of the type of content with that 80s theme and the way that they did that show with like the VCR look and like the rewind, and like it was perfectly done. I don't know how something like Haunting of Hill House is going to translate to something like that, or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, something like Beetlejuice, absolutely it would work, but I think they're kind of a little bit more limited. Like Stranger Things made a lot of sense with it. Ghostbusters made a lot of sense with it. Killer Clowns made sense with it. It all worked so well.
It did.
It's going to be really hard to replicate that feeling year after year after year if that's what you're planning on doing.
Well, and the one thing I don't want them to do is replicate an 80s theme again, right? Because I do think it's fun, but, I'm ready to not have the 80s theme again.
Yeah.
Because, and the reason I say that is because, all this stuff that's been leading up to this, all that staticky video stuff that we were talking about, seemed like VHS video, and I'm like, someone messed with the tracking, and even the featured properties other than Hill House, you've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Beetlejuice, Creepshow, or Halloween. Those are all like 70s, 80s properties, as far as IP. So it could very much delve into the 80s stuff again. I just hope
retro is huge right now, man. Everything is retro. Everything is vintage. So
yeah, but can we go into the 90s? Can we just play some grunge rock and have Jack and Flannel?
I just think the problem with them for properties is that they've used most of it at this point. Like there's not a lot of
or
stones
Disney
that
bought it
haven't
up.
Been turned. Yeah, that too. There's not a lot of stones that have been unturned at this point in terms of properties, and like like the only ones that come to mind are like Scream, which they tried and it fell apart. You've got stuff like Hellraiser, which, I mean, that's fine. There's nothing too crazy going on there. So there's really not a lot of stuff that's been unused that is worth like anchoring the event. So they're just going back and finding those old 80s type movies.
Well, maybe they should stop making movies about invisible men and make movies about something that can make a house about.
The very visible man.
The not so visible man, but still kind of visible.
That was a good movie, though.
It was a good movie, but it's like not a house.
No,
but,
not.
So, Kyle,
I was on mute.
Oh.
I didn't realize it. That's fine. I know you guys like that water show more than I did. I thought it was fun.
I love that water show. I only saw it once, though.
I thought it was a good spend of time for a minute. Like if you were, needed a break to just lean over the rail and watch. But I wouldn't have gone out of my way to catch it.
I thought it was good.
It's good for drawing a crowd.
It was good. Shut your mouth.
I thought I'd take that 99 times out of 100 over that dance crap.
I'd take it 120 times out of 100.
Yeah.
Those guys are not coming back though. So
good.
No, I know.
They're a-holes.
Well, some of them, I guess.
Oh my God, I'm gonna
not
throw
the workers. But let's. I'm gonna segue over to Howl-O-Scream because we talked about that for a minute, right? So traditionally, Howl-O-Scream, Busch Gardens, Tampa. A lot of people are afraid of making that drive from Orlando to Tampa, all 70 minutes or 60 so miles to 70 miles to get to Busch Gardens. I love Busch Gardens. Howl-O-Scream every year. It's not slick. It's it's a little lower budget. I think more intense screams because there's people jumping out of bushes and garbage cans. It's throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. But again, a lot of people hesitant because they're in Orlando and they don't make the trip over. This year, SeaWorld Busch Gardens had a trick up their sleeve that surprisingly someone had told me about months ago, and I didn't say a word, right? But SeaWorld Howl-O-Scream coming this year, starting the same day as the Tampa Howl-O-Scream. Different icon theme, I believe, but I believe that the SeaWorld Howl-O-Scream, from what I understand, is going to be kind of some recycled Howl-O-Scream things from the past. And I'm not sure that there's going to be a lot of new, but it's going to be new for SeaWorld. So it's essentially literally in Halloween Horror Nights' backyard.
And new for a lot of people, because like you said, not everyone goes out to Tampa all the time.
Right.
Yep. So we've got haunted houses, they've got scare zones and the roaming haunts. And they also have 2 shows. So we talked about like the dancing show. There is a high energy musical dance show or an outdoor spectacle with the story around the icon that they have for the event, which is kind of, I don't want to, like, is it a mermaid? I guess it's kind of like mermaid.
It's a merman.
Evil mermaid.
Just bring the nurses.
That's the thing. Like, I don't think that Orlando is going to have the nurses because it doesn't look like it. It looks like they're going to have a different type of a dance show, but the nurses would be back in Busch Gardens Howl-O-Scream. Both of them starting same days, different things to offer. I mean, to me, it's like, you know, if you're a haunt fan, you can't lose with all of these events that are coming around.
I am stoked about this, to be honest.
I am too, but I think for a different reason.
For Howl-O-Scream?
What's your reason, Tom?
Drinking beer?
Yeah. So, no, it's, but here's the deal. Like the last time we went down to Tampa, Drew, it was me, you, and Andy. And it sucked for Andy. He had to drive all the way down there. He had to kind of, you know, keep himself straight and then drive back. And it was a big pain in the ass. And, you know, it was just, we can get in an Uber, drive over there, have a great time, bro. Something different. And apparently SeaWorld, which I haven't been to since I was a kid, has a great beer offering selection in there.
They do.
Now here, I'm not an alcoholic or anything, I don't think, but I enjoy having beers with my friends. One of the biggest reasons I enjoy Horror Nights so much, the houses are neat, the scare zones are neat, all that's neat, but I like going and drinking beer with my buddies. So I think anything that makes it easier for that to happen, and we don't have to have anybody drive and be on the road for 2 hours or 2.5 hours and worry about traffic and getting there on time. And we just take an Uber over and have a good time. And plus it's just something different right there that we can go choose to do if, you know, we want to. We don't have to make a big ordeal, a big plan about it.
So there's a couple of reasons why I'm looking forward to this. One, I think SeaWorld is often really looked down upon in terms of just as a whole. Like SeaWorld is it's a pretty nice park for the most part. Their food offerings there are really good. Their beer selection there is great. I'm sure they're going to do some kind of really good like specialty foods and drinks for their event, right?
Excited.
The proximity to Universal can only force them to be better if this takes off. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things where, you know, if they're competing, the people who win are the consumer. You know, it's no matter what, you're going to get a great event. SeaWorld, like, it was funny because about 2 days before they announced this, I was talking to Ashley about it. And I was just thinking back, like, one time I was at SeaWorld, it was nighttime. It gets so dark in certain areas of that park. Like, it's got a creepy vibe in certain areas when there's not a lot of people there and it becomes nighttime. Like, there would be amazing opportunities for scares in certain areas there. So my only concern is I just really hope that not every house is themed like some kind of underwater type thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I understand it's SeaWorld and their icon appears to be kind of playing to that theme, but I hope that not every house is that way. Yeah. Because I feel like that could get really tired really fast. And the other thing is like, you go to Halloween Horror Nights, they have 10 houses, a couple of the rides are open. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
When you ride Harry Potter Escape from Gringotts at night, it don't make a shit of difference if you ride it at 12 o'clock in the afternoon or 12 o'clock at night. It doesn't make a difference.
Right.
SeaWorld's rides are attractions in themselves, even during an event like this, especially because, riding something like Mako when it's going to be pitch black out, or Kraken or Manta, like the rides there, like go more hand in hand with a horror event than something like Transformers does.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like, why haven't you done this sooner? It's a perfect match, and now for, let's say, someone like you, Tom, let's say you came down in October and you bought a Frequent Fear Plus because you're going to be here for a long weekend. That doesn't cover your Saturday.
Right.
So you're going to be looking for something to do on a Saturday.
Right.
Why not go to Howl-O-Scream 10 minutes down the road?
Let's do it.
You know what I mean? So
the tickets, by the way, I mean, I was on mute while I was trying to talk, Drew. Like the thing about underwater houses, totally not the case from what I understand. And
that's good. I just, I'm not talking from knowledge. I'm just saying, man, like I just hope that they're not all running the same theme. That's all.
It's a valid concern.
Ticket prices, though, for the event, I mean, dude, if you buy a ticket right now, $30.
Yeah. Is that it?
$30. And you can buy tickets that are combo tickets that you can go to SeaWorld and Busch Gardens to both of the events.
Can I say one more thing? So, haven't we already seen basically everything at Busch Gardens anyway? I mean, we've already seen it all. Why drive 2 hours to go down and look at the same shit we've already seen for the last couple of years?
I will. If there are new things that you miss, you'll be able to see it next year probably if you go.
Right. I mean, I'm all for the SeaWorld thing, man. I'm not planning on leaving Orlando.
I will say that Busch Gardens last year, because they didn't do the houses, they did zones, and they did like outdoor houses. Like
it looked kind of fun from your video.
Yeah, for the years that we've been going, I want to say like last year might have been the most fun out of the years because of the way things were set up outside. There was so much like, as like a Horror Nights fan, like when you're looking for Easter eggs and things from the past, like you're going around kind of spotting everything. So,
but I also think too that level of how good it was also comes from same thing like the Diet HHN houses where like you didn't expect to have any of this year, so I'm just enjoying being there, so that's not to say that it was bad or anything like that. It looked fun because I remember I watched your video. Now I don't know if I would have wanted to take a 90-minute trek out there just for that, but I feel like that's the type of thing that sort of like how Universal handled Mardi Gras this year. I think all these companies have tried some new tactics. And I think that the stuff that we've come to know and love are going to be mixed with some of these things that we've seen and work. It showed that they work. They had to go outside their comfort zone and try some new things. So maybe like when they do Howl-O-Scream in Tampa this year, like, yeah, you'll have your traditional houses like your Deathwater Bayou and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But maybe you'll mix in some of those things that you got to experience last year as well and kind of build upon it and have a little bit more of a fully fleshed out event.
Yep.
Paul, are they doing Busch Gardens in Williamsburg this year, or do they still have COVID there?
They have announced that Howl-O-Scream is returning this year. They have not given any kind of details, which I guess you guys don't have any details either, other than that it's coming back. So yeah, no, we are getting Howl-O-Scream this year. We had an abbreviated event last year, and it was a super abbreviated event. I think they had 3 scare zones with limited actors. So this year they're
explain limited, Paul, for folks that have not seen your video.
Like 3?
I mean that's like how many actors were in each of the zones too, right?
Yeah.
So I'm used to that with Six Flags down the street from me. I mean, there's like two people, and they're just in there chatting with other people.
It was. I mean, Virginia's more tight than or has been historically. At least last year, as it relates to COVID, pretty tight, right? I mean, our governor had pretty restrictive policies and things like that. And when Howl-O-Scream rolled around, I think one of the things I appreciated about it was at the time, I think the capacity was 1,000 that was allowed in the park.
Oh, wow.
Which, in a park that has a capacity that's significantly like 24,000 or 40,000.
That's a big ass park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that you had 1,000, you could walk for a little while and just like literally not see anyone. The sad thing is you also didn't really see any scare actors, but you could also experience the park and the rides and things like that. So, for what it was, for what it was, I appreciated that they figured something out instead of just waiting until the park could open at 50% capacity. And so, we're getting Howl-O-Scream this year, and more importantly, for I think the month before it, like the month of August leading up to the weekend before Howl-O-Scream, we get Busch Gardens Beer Fest.
There you go.
Because we have an Oktoberfest area of our park, and so it's going to be we'll have the Oktoberfest and the Fest House, and
right by the old Drakenfire.
Yes, Drakenfire. Now they put a house back. Is the Halloween Horror Nights house still there? Yeah, I think it still is. Or Halloween, the Howl-O-Scream house. There's a house back there, but yeah.
I miss the big bad wolf.
Me too. But for Bolton's pretty solid. For Bolton is a solid coaster.
Last time I went there, they had just opened Ireland.
Oh.
Well, I've been told that definitely riding Mako at night's a must-do experience, so I'm looking forward to it.
Got to ride Antarctica as well.
I heard that's
got a
bad.
safe puck.
Honestly, like they should just use Antarctica as like a house. Just do like a Yeti house in Antarctica.
Jack Frost.
Yes.
Jack's even at Howl-O-Scream.
Yeah, he's everywhere. We told
he's
you.
Everywhere.
As long as you're in Orlando, Jack can get to you.
Jack is going to show up to SeaWorld in a tank, DX style. The other icons.
Suck it.
Well, the icon. What's funny is the icon of Busch Gardens is also Jack. But so he really is everywhere. He's just got a pumpkin head at my park.
Name Jack O-Lantern? Is his name O-Lantern?
It's something like that.
Oh, I don't know
Paul
if
gets
it's
pretty
anything
hyped
here.
about that Jack guy though at Busch Gardens if you watch his videos.
Yeah, his dance party.
He literally has a dance party.
He does.
Yes.
Oh, dude. After you have a few beverages, please put on like Paul's videos from over the years. For Jack.
And, hey, you guys are welcome anytime. Come up to Busch Gardens.
As long as you got a Peeps Pepsi waiting for me.
I will have it.
Oh
waiting.
my God! Did you drink that, sir?
Hell yeah, I did.
Oh, for God's sake, sir!
And it was good. It was actually well. I mean, if you like marshmallow, you'll like it.
Just stop.
I drank that whole thing. It wasn't just like a sip and I threw the rest out. No, I drank that whole thing.
You know what we should do is we should do a Netherworld trip like we did last year, but include Williamsburg.
Williamsburg would be good.
Hey,
somehow like make a whole.
I went there a long time ago for Howl-O-Scream, like 20 years ago probably.
I have plenty of room.
Do all of the Howl-O-Screams, then we'll go to Texas too.
Yes.
Oh Lord.
San Antone.
Oh, the static is coming on. Jack is back. Jack is here.
So, Tom, you talked about Netherworld. Netherworld is coming back also. They've announced that their main haunt will be a celebration of the fictional characters that have inhabited the Netherworld since 1997, and those that have brought those creatures to life. And then their second haunt is going to be the return of a twisted effect that Netherworld first unveiled 20 years ago. So that's the details that we have of Netherworld at this point. But I think they generally start like the first week of October, which is I think when I'd be targeting to go.
Yeah, just let me know when. I'm in. That was a really cool deal. The rain sucked, but it was
horrible.
It was a monsoon.
Where is
the whole
Netherworld
time we were
again?
there? It's Atlanta.
Stone Mountain.
All right, I gotta think about this.
You gotta come down.
Yeah, Hauntsmen field trip.
We had such a great time too because we stayed right near some of the Stranger Things filming locations, and we went and saw
that stuff.
The Starcourt Mall, from Stranger Things, the school, the arcade, the laboratory. It was pretty cool. There's just so much stuff that films down there that like almost anywhere you go, there's like filming locations.
Well, and there's a Dickie's barbecue pit around the corner, so.
And Bojangles everywhere.
There's Bojangles. There was Cookout.
I have Bojangles everywhere here, but I don't have a Stone Mountain Pizza Cafe.
There's really not that much good stuff to eat over there. I'm going to be honest. Like you got to drive a little bit.
What was the one place called, Drew? The Voodoo.
The Vortex, but we didn't
Vortex.
get to...
Oh, the Vortex is the bomb. I love the Vortex.
Yeah, well, it was during the COVID.
Yeah, it was a mess to get in
and
there.
it was a disaster. So and plus it was pouring down rain still there.
Like Chili's instead.
We ended up in Chili's. Chili's. We got our baby back.
There are other haunts up there too in the Atlanta area, so I mean you could certainly bang things out. I've spoken with the owners of Containment about getting back up there again this year too, which fantastic haunt, built out of shipping containers with large animatronics and a story that follows you throughout the entire haunt. One of my favorites as far as like mom and pop or smaller haunts.
Sounds cool.
And there were a couple others that I just haven't gotten to. And I've spoken with one of our friends who shall remain nameless, who does some designing of haunts and escape rooms, where he also would want to get together and hit those places up there as well.
Participate.
Yeah.
I would say he's creative.
I would say he's very creative.
So, I think that does it for us. We got the Jack Static is calling us out.
I know. We're driving through a tunnel.
So,
well, thank you guys for listening. Hopefully you are listening. It's been 14 months, but it's not our longest break.
We'll be back in 14 days.
We're like Pennywise. We come back every like 27 months.
Or is it
we'll see you.
Cicadas?
We'll see you for HHN 32, y'all.
Bye, guys.
See you.
Take it easy, guys. Wait,
Farewell.
our wicked growth.
Yes. In my pants.
All of us.
I had my wicked growth removed.